Welcome back to J&J's Lowdown.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, October 15th. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. PlayStation 5 is coming out.
I'm excited to see what Sony's going to produce.
Yeah. So we're going to definitely talk about that. We're going to talk about the Switch Lite. We're going to do an overview of some new games coming out. We've got some reviews on Game Pass games. I've been meaning to get those reviews to you, and that's going to happen on this show. So the first thing I want to talk about is PlayStation 5.
Yeah, man. Is it going to compare to the new Xbox coming out?
Well, we talked about the Project Scarlet last time.
Right.
And I personally think that the console race has been one of those things since we were kids. I mean, you remember Nintendo, back then we had Sega as well.
It's always been back and forth.
Yeah. You know, each developer has something to offer. You know, I think Sony has a lot to work with. They've got, the new controllers. That's what I mean to say. I can't talk anymore. But
it's called age.
Yeah, age. So their new controllers, they've got adaptive triggers.
All right.
So apparently the way this is going to work is you'll actually be able to feel the tension in the bowstring when you start pressing down on the trigger.
Really?
Yeah. Man. So when you accelerate your vehicle, it's going to let you feel that acceleration through the triggers.
Awesome.
That sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like it's going to really open up a lot of different things in your gameplay.
Right.
And then they're talking about making it so you can actually change the sensitivity of like the thumbsticks and things. So it seems like it's going to be really impressive what they can do, or what you'll be able to do, modifying the different settings.
That's with controllers, but what about the system?
I mean, the system is running one of the best all-around hardwares that any of them is going to run. It compares easily to the Project Scarlet,
really?
The new Xbox.
Oh, man. So it's got some of the same features.
Yeah, it's going to be ray tracing at the hardware level. I know we talk a lot about ray tracing because it's actually a really nifty thing they're doing. And computers, PCs have had it for a while, but the fact that it's coming to consoles now is actually really impressive. So I'm really excited about what they've got coming along with that, with how much faster, because they're talking about having almost no load times.
Really?
Yeah. So the idea is that with the hardware that they have, it's going to be fast enough that it's going to minimize load times to the point that there's going to be virtually no load times.
Can you imagine that?
It's like I said with the Xbox, though, with the Project Scarlet. The load screens are some of my favorite parts of video games.
Getting the tips, getting the hints that they give you.
Yeah, the art, a lot of games like, look at Skyrim where you can actually move the stuff around. I mean, I know that seems minimalistic. But did you play Mario 64?
I did.
Okay, so you remember the opening screen where you could pull Mario's face apart?
Yes.
Like, that was one of the best things ever. And then I don't remember what game it was, but there were games in between load screens where you could
play
like
always have like little mini games to play.
Like little mini games to play. So losing those load screens, I hope some game developers decide to maintain load screens for certain things, like maybe when you change chapters or when you go into a much larger area, you'll have like a small load screen that gives you some small tips or some kind of mini game or just something fun and fresh for you, because it doesn't lose the immersion.
Right.
It adds to the game that I'm playing.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Of course, they better step up on the game then. But I don't think the younger generation likes the load screens. They don't like the mini games. They don't want to wait. They just want to play the game and move forward.
Yeah, they like the higher end immersion, which is a lot of people. That's why they mod things on the PC, is to drop those load times. So, but I'm from that older generation where load times were a gift in some cases. So I'm excited about it. But I'm reticent because of that load screen. But speaking of that, one of the ways they're talking about increasing this gameplay and the load screens is they're switching over to a solid state drive.
Right.
So it's going to allow much faster recall, loading times. Yep. All the specs are amazingly impressive, and you can find them. We'll actually post a link below, or I'll put some of the specs in the comments below. Depends on if I can find a link that doesn't fall under copyright restrictions. Right. So one last thing about controllers is haptic. What is it called? Haptic. I forgot now. Haptic feedback.
The feedback.
Yeah. Compared to I can't speak. Haptic feedback compared to the rumble feature. So you know how the rumble, it's always the same.
Yeah,
like there's
you
low
always
rumble,
feel-
high rumble.
Right.
Yeah. Haptic feedback means that when you get tackled by a linebacker, it's going to feel different than when you crash into a wall in a racing game.
Really?
It's going to feel different than when you get shot in a Call of Duty game or something. So it's going to increase the things that you can feel. I think is it the Switch? Yeah, the Switch already has a game that uses a type of haptic feedback,
Right.
Where you actually guess how many balls are in a chamber by moving the controller back and forth, and it changes the
cool.
senses,
As
and
you-
you can
as you
guess
move
how
it.
many balls are actually supposed to be in there by the number of like rumbles and movements it does. So haptic feedback is going to be this pretty impressive thing for the console generation, I think, going forward, because it's going to increase immersion, and it's also going to give you this feel that, of course, it's immersion, give you the feel that you're in the game, but
Right.
it's just going to increase the overall sensory effect of the game.
Absolutely.
So, and then, let's see, trying to think of anything else that comes to mind with it other than like specs, but, backwards
that I can think
compatibility.
of. Oh, yeah.
It goes back to PS4. So you will be able to play online games on the PS5 with your friends that are still on PS4 if they can't afford the new price point, because I know I won't be able to, even though I want to.
Right.
Yeah, because Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be coming out next year.
It's going to be awesome. I'm telling you.
It is, and then you're going to have it on this,
Right.
new system. So, but you'll be able to do backwards compatibility. There's rumor that it goes all the way back to PlayStation 1. However, at this point, that is just a rumor. The only thing that's been confirmed is the PS4 compatibility. So, beyond that, the specs look really impressive. There's a couple of games that have been announced for it. We can go over that maybe next time.
Yeah, that'd be good. Have they talked about whether or not they're going to shoot it in 8K? Like, are the games going to be in 8K possibly, or?
From what I understand from reading it, there is 8K. It is available,
Right.
But getting developers to start building the games in that mode so that they can have the 8K compatibility.
They're just not up to that speed yet.
Well, I mean, they are. It's just they haven't done it yet, so
Right.
it's getting to that point.
Sure.
And not for consoles. Now, for PCs, that is already something that's in the works and is already available. But consoles is a little bit different because of how the console works. So, but I'm super excited about PlayStation 5. As we get
can't
more
wait.
news,
Yeah.
we're definitely going to give out more news because I'm super excited. Same goes with Project Scarlet. So, and I think the next thing, speaking of consoles, Switch Lite.
Okay, so the Switch was a huge thing. I mean, it was great. It's made record sales for Nintendo.
Yeah.
So
Well, we thought Nintendo was dead.
right.
And then the Switch came out and switched the game.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
I mean, a system that goes from a console to a handheld. Granted,
It's
there was
ingenious.
it is. I mean, and I think originally you got like 3.5 hours of battery life when you're playing like Breath of the Wild and stuff.
Right.
But the fact that you could just pick it up and take it with you on the bus and still have 720p
Right.
on a
Absolutely.
handheld.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember I had the original Game Boy.
Yes,
which
black
was
and white, and it was
Yeah.
nothing but a calculator screen.
yeah. Do you remember trying to play in the dark?
Yes,
Yeah, you couldn't.
You had to buy the adapter to go on top.
Yeah,
of
the
light.
little bitty light that
Yes.
went on. So it's a big step forward. The only thing is that is actually something that's not on there is the auto backlight on the
Really?
Switch Lite. Yeah.
Oh.
Apparently, you've got to adjust the brightness settings.
Oh,
It's not an auto setting like
Right.
the original Switch is. The screen's a little bit smaller. I think it's like 5.5 as opposed to 6.2. So it's actually going to make the games look a little crisper because the pixelation is not
Being
going to be as
smaller.
right. So the games are going to still look great. They're still going to play great. It feels pretty sturdy. The only issue is some people have already said that there is some drift. 'Cause it's been out for a minute.
Yeah.
And people play the Switch like it's it's
I know.
the only thing to play. Because some people don't like consoles.
Yeah.
Which I don't. I
They
mean,
just want handheld.
they're not weird. They're not normal. I love handhelds. I play mobile games all day long.
Love it.
Love it. But I love my consoles. I love sitting down and playing Division 2 with some people. So, but the Switch Lite has the drift has already started. It's not as pronounced as it is in the original Switch, but there is some drift being shown. The problem is the Joy-Cons don't get removed. You can't remove them.
You can't.
No, it's just
all in
a
one
one
unit.
piece, right? So if you got drift, what you gonna do? You're gonna have to send it back,
Right.
Or you're gonna have to buy a new one. And at a $200 price point,
That's expensive.
exactly. When the regular Switch that's already able to be taken as handheld is $300.
Yeah.
I mean it's $100 more, but granted, there are some extra features. The new Switch that comes out actually has better battery life than the current Switch Lite.
Wow.
So they have a smaller battery in it to keep it less weight. So, but because it's not running as many things as the Switch, the actual Switch doesn't have the console and it doesn't have certain features. The battery lasts longer, but you're losing some in that.
So let me ask you: do you think people are going to make a switch to the Switch Lite?
People who are only about handhelds, who have long commutes. It's going to be real great in places like China, where people or New York, where there's subways and stuff, and people are just constantly moving, but they're not able to actually sit down at a TV. I think that's going to be a great opportunity for them to have a solid piece of equipment and still play these games.
Yeah.
The only issue is if you like consoles and you still want to have a handheld, the original Switch is going to be the way to go. We'll get the new one that has a better battery life. But the only issue is you got that controller drift, but you can buy new Joy-Cons.
Right, yeah, because those detach, so I mean...
Yeah, but they're $60 a piece. I mean, it's a little bit hefty, but you
can't
can
buy a new
them.
Xbox game.
Yeah, I've already had to buy 2 new sets for the kids.
Wow.
Yeah, so they play a lot of games. But, I mean, Switch Lite, is it worth it for $200? If the only thing you want to do is mobile gaming, go for it.
Yeah, definitely worth it.
But, I mean, there's... I can't see it being only $100 less. $300 for the original Switch, $200 for the Switch Lite, and all you're getting is a handheld. It just feels like that's maybe a slip on their part.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a great piece of technology. So if you're into mobile gaming, go for it.
Yeah, jump in, and that brings us kind of next into our next topic.
Yeah.
New games.
Yeah. There's some new games that are actually coming out for the Switch very soon. I think today, actually, the 15th.
Yep.
You've got Overwatch is coming to the Switch.
I can't wait to play that.
Have you played Overwatch?
Yes.
See, I always play the free play days, but I never bought the game. I'm one of those things where I just don't have the money to buy new games on a regular basis. I loved Overwatch. I played it for the free play days. There's been a couple of them since it came out. Enjoyed every last minute of it.
Yeah, I thought it was a great game.
Well, it takes me back to the days of like Halo and running around.
Right.
But it also has like the old school Warframe feel, I guess. Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of those games because it's futuristic and every different thing has different abilities.
Right. Exactly.
And they all kind of fit together like Team Fortress kind of deal.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I'm coming onto the Switch, me being able to just take it around since I can use my kids' Switches on a regular basis. I think it's great. But another game that's coming out today, it came out today as well. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is coming to the Switch. I love Witcher 3.
Do you?
Yes.
And now tell me about Witcher 3.
So it's the story of Geraldo Rivera, and he's a witcher. Like he hunts mystical beasts and the supernatural and stuff like that. He's got a regular sword for people and a silver sword for the mythical beasts.
Oh.
And he wrecks things. That's what he does.
He wrecks things.
He wrecks things. Yeah.
So it's like a mystical Wreck Ralph.
I wouldn't quite compare him to Wreck-It Ralph, but it's very similar to like. I don't want to compare everything to Skyrim, but it has a Skyrim kind of feel, but it's very action oriented.
Right.
So Dark Souls-esque, but not Dark Souls. It's action. It's an action game. I kind of put it in its own genre to a degree. Think like Red Dead Redemption, but with swords.
Yeah,
it's very open world.
Yeah.
You can craft your own potions, craft your own things to do different. Like they help you out with potions and herbs. But it's a great game. It's coming to Switch. I actually have it on the Xbox One, so I can do a gameplay of it.
Oh, that'd be good.
And show that on our Twitch channel. So that can definitely come up. And honestly, coming to the Switch, just being able to walk around playing as your alt, it's going to be so much fun.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, you should. You should definitely check it out.
Yeah, I will.
So, last game coming out. What
Plants vs. Zombies?
Plants vs. Zombies Battle of Neighborville, I do believe. If you play Garden Warfare, it's kind of a third-person shooter Plants vs. Zombies game. It's actually a lot of fun, oddly enough. And it's online. It's like multiplayer. It's got a whole bunch, but they've introduced a whole bunch of stuff to it, different characters, different plants. Battle of Neighborville is actually getting a kind of an upgrade that I wasn't expecting. You can sprint.
Really?
Yeah, you couldn't sprint in Garden
couldn't,
Warfare.
no, you couldn't.
You just kind of like roamed around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you did. So everybody went slow, but when you sprint, there's a cost for that speed. Some of your abilities are not going to be available.
Oh,
so
that might tax you a little bit.
Well, it's gonna change the power struggle for like the online component of it, because to get to where you need to go, if you need to sprint, you're going to lose the ability to use some of your higher end abilities. But at the same time, you're going to get there faster. So your time between kills may increase depending on how you play it.
Right.
So it's gonna change some tactics.
You just have to be more careful.
Yeah. But I think it's gonna be good. I liked Garden Warfare.
I like Garden Warfare. I mean, I always enjoyed playing it. So it'd be interesting to see what this thing does.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
But the last thing I want to talk about real quick before we finish, because I know the video is going a little bit long. I played Dishonored 2 and Blair Witch. I told you I was going to. Dishonored 2, I think it's a fantastic game. It's on our Twitch channel right now. You can check out the video where I played it for about an hour. It's stealth mixed with action. I died a lot, which was fun. I'm a mediocre gamer. I just love games. But it's very, like, you have stealth that is kind of the forefront of the game. The stealth is kind of figuring out different ways to get around enemies and get to where you need to go.
Right.
So, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's, you have a sword and you have a folding sword, which is weird.
A folding sword?
Yeah, it folds in half. I don't get it. I've never seen it do it in the game, but it did fold in half. And then you've got a gun, which is like a one-hit kill if you hit somebody in the chest. Done.
Awesome.
So, and then Blair Witch.
What did you think about that?
Super intense. Super intense. Creeped me out the entire time. My wife required me to play it in the dark with her there. She had the covers over her head and around her face watching this game. And you feel it. I mean, you feel like you're there.
So they obviously did a good job of remaking a game considerable to the movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely on point with the movies. There are some things that you're kind of that aren't in the movies, but like there's flashback scenes. I don't want to give any spoilers away if you haven't played it, but there are some flashback scenes of the person's story.
Oh, yeah.
And you get caught in them while you're playing. And I'm saying intense. If you like the horror genre of video games like Resident Evil, I'm not comparing it to Resident Evil because there's no shooting in this one, but if you like the horror genre, you like horror movies, horror games, this game is immersive. You will just put on a set of headphones or a headset, turn off the lights, and try not to play it by yourself because you'll keep looking behind you, because I did.
And so really, that's on Game Pass too.
It is on Game Pass right now. Yeah, I'll definitely let you know before it leaves. But check it out. Free to download if you've got the Game Pass. But not free at $10 a month. But free to download if you have Game Pass. Play it. You won't regret it if you like the horror genre. But those are the two games I wanted to talk about because I keep forgetting to tell you guys about them, and I've loved every minute of it. But we're going to have to end our show here. It's getting a little late, but we'll tell you more details about the PlayStation, the Xbox, and the Switch as it keeps going forward. I mean, the Switch is already out, but I'm pretty sure they're going to keep upgrading stuff.
Yeah.
And new games coming out.
And be sure to check out our next show where we start talking about some new AR coming from Apple.
Yep, new AR coming from Apple and Amazon's Fire TV Cube.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it because, the AR is not out, but the Cube is, and it looks kind of interesting. But for now, we're going to end the show. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe down below. We'll keep links to our Twitter and our Twitch page. There's too many TWs in the comments below. But thank you so much for joining us on J&J's Lowdown.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.